Hello and welcome to The Print. I'm Risha Tutlangya, and today in this special discussion, we will talk about the financial viability of metro rail projects, especially now when several state governments are proposing metro corridors in Tier 2 cities. Recently, the Bihar government approved a feasibility study for metro projects in 4 cities. So we are going to explore, we're going to talk to our experts and find out, is it possible to have metro projects in tier 2 cities? Is public-private partnership a viable option in executing these capital-intensive metro projects? And how can the existing metro systems address the issue of low ridership? To address these issues, I am joined today by Professor G Raghuram, former director of the Indian Institute of Management, Bangalore, and visiting faculty at the Gati Shakti Vishwavidyalaya. He is an expert on infrastructure and transport systems. I also have Dr. Mangu Singh, former managing director of Delhi Metro Rail Corporation. He was with the Delhi Metro Rail Corporation since its inception and was instrumental in the rapid expansion of the metro network in Delhi NCR and also timely completion of important corridors. Today, Delhi Metro Rail Corporation has a network of close to 400 kilometers in Delhi NCR. I welcome you both. Thank you for joining us on this discussion. Mangu Singh sir, I will start with you. In the past decade, we have seen a rapid expansion of metro corridor in India. Today, we have close to 900 kilometers of metro corridor, of which over 650 kilometers were constructed in the last 10 years. So I want to know, sir, from you that how do you see, how has metro network contributed in the transport sector despite low ridership in most metro systems, sir?
Namaskar, first of all. Namaskar to Professor Raghuram. We are meeting after a long time. Yeah, it's a very valid question you have asked. Before that, let us understand the scenario of our cities. Most of our cities, whether it is tier 1, tier 2, or tier 3 cities, they are characterized by very narrow roads, sort of layout of all the cities is characterized by the narrow roads, hardly any space for parking, and therefore leading to heavy congestion on roads in these cities. This is typical of all the cities. This has happened mainly because after the independence, when our urbanization grew at a very fast pace, we never had this idea of having large number of motorized vehicles on our roads. The motorized vehicles availability actually started in late 80s and 90s. And by then, many of our cities were developed largely. So the problem with all these cities is the lack of space. How people move, time taken from one place to other place is very large, and which leads to so many other problems, the energy inefficiency and things like that. So cities are required to have some very efficient public transport system. And therefore, to start with, I think the first realization was only in 90s when Delhi Metro came up. To say that whether tier 2 cities, tier 3 cities, or those, they should have metro or not, we will come to that question slightly later. But certainly, if we see the scenario in Delhi, the metro has really served very well. The situation in Delhi, you can't imagine without metro today. Carries around 60 lakhs passengers per day. And in terms of passenger kilometer, the urban passenger share is huge, apart from many other co-benefits like saving in travel time, reduction in air pollution, saving on infrastructure cost, and things like that. So this has really served the purpose with which the metro was constructed, at least in Delhi, I can say. Now, coming to a question that other cities, smaller cities, where the ridership is low, I have a point here. Cities like Jaipur, Lucknow, Kochi, where only one line has been constructed. An urban transport system, unless you have a critical network to cover the city in a big way, judging the viability of a metro by one line or two line, I feel it's not very reasonable thing. When we started in Delhi, the phase one, we struggled for almost 6-7 years. There was hardly any ridership on these three lines initially. So my point is that, seeing the condition of our cities, you need to do something. Now, I'm not saying that you should have metro everywhere, but then certainly you need some solution to this problem in almost all cities.
Okay. Raghuram sir, would you like to share your views on this? I mean, are we jumping the gun? Like a section of transport experts would say, tier 2 cities should first look at bus transport before moving to metro. But what's your take on this, sir?
Well, I am very much a pro-metro person. I think, saying that we'll first do bus and then move on is more like a poverty syndrome. And I think India today has, there's enough funds available for investment in infrastructure. See, to me, building on what Mr. Mangu Singh said, see, many of our cities, the inner parts are congested, but then there is tremendous scope for growth of the cities. And to me, Ahmedabad is a good example. You see, the inner part of Ahmedabad, yes, is congested, but Ahmedabad is growing so much outside and also with good roads. But I think the driver for growth is where the metro comes in. And I see the metro as a major opportunity of being a driver for growth in tier 2 cities. I mean, Mumbai, Delhi, Chennai, we are behind, we are catching up. I'm glad that Mumbai, suddenly there is a burst of metro construction going on. So also in Bangalore and Chennai. I mean, these cities badly need it.
Yeah.
But I would also say that tier 2 cities need it, where the policy should be, or the driver should be, in what way we want the city to grow. So in Ahmedabad, for example, the route to the gift city, it has two advantages. One, the built-up areas have not yet come in. So constructing the metro is very easy. You don't have problems of permissions and heritage and cutting of trees. And, I have seen the way that metro line is getting constructed. It's very fast. And now, in anticipation of the metro, I see a lot of construction coming on the way, the route that is getting extended to the gift city through the institutional area, new institutions coming up, residential areas coming up. So, to me, that I think is a value that the metro offers a city, which we should leverage, especially in tier 2 and maybe even some of the tier 3 cities. I mean, 20, 25 cities in India. I am one of those who believes that the metro can do good.
Okay.
Of course, there are other issues to improve ridership. If you wish, we can come back to it, or I can continue on. So on increasing ridership, you see, one is the metro. So there should be integrated transport land use planning. And I think in many ways in Ahmedabad, on the new lines, that is happening. Second is the evacuation to and from the stations. And I think there, especially in the mega cities, I am not sure enough thought is going into it. Part of it may actually be constraints of buildings or other heritage, or, you know, very often you can put a station or do construction under a road and not anywhere else, or you have to look for a maidan or a ground to set up the construction infrastructure and so on. But I find the evacuation, let's take line 3 in Mumbai, which is about to open soon. And they say it is to connect the unconnected. Actually, it's a very well designed line in the sense it will go from via Churchgate to Mumbai Chhatrapati Shivaji terminus, then to Mumbai Central, then to the airport, T1, T2. I mean, it's terrific in, you know, the design. But when I see the Chhatrapati Shivaji station and where the main railway station is, and the way the railway station itself has expanded on the other side, I fear to think how people with even a single stroller will be able to make the move in a streamlined way. I can say that even for some of the stations in Delhi Metro, you know, Delhi Metro's ability to talk to Indian Railways is less than what ought to be, you know. So, for example, even the airport line, it went to T3. It didn't connect T1, where probably there was more domestic traffic and potential users. Of course, now we have a line connecting T1, but it took quite a while. Take Delhi Metro, the airport line and the Magenta line, they cross one another. And there are some more. There are 5, 6, 7 crossings of that kind where 2 metro lines don't talk to one another. So maybe there are constraints, but I'm sure there's enough engineering capability to do that, because you've got to offer more opportunities for ridership. And I think that's very important.
Mangu Singh sir, would you like to?
I think I 100% agree with Professor Raghuram. I would like to just add one. The Delhi airport line certainly could have been better if it was through T1, Terminal 1. It's very well observed point. But let me tell you, I also wanted that. This alignment actually I fixed. The alignment for line 3 in Mumbai also I decided this, coming from Kolaba to Central and VT. So this actually, Professor, what actually was planned originally, that T1 was to be closed completely. Otherwise, I would have taken the airport line through T1 first and then T3. It would have been certainly a much better proposal. But the master plan of Delhi airport was such that the T1 was to be closed completely, T3 was to be developed, and T2 was to be replicated as a mirror image of T3. And then T5 and T6. So as per master plan, T1 was not to be there. And that is why the reason. I always wish that airport line was through T1. This certainly. Yes, it's a fact that construction of metro in our cities in India, there are 2 separate sets. One is the city which is already developed, overcrowded, overdeveloped. So their problems are different. And city or the area which is still developing, like just he mentioned about the gift city, and many more areas coming around the big city. There the problem is different. You have much more sort of options, opportunities to have alignment and fix the stations. The construction of metro in cities is really in already developed city is different. That is exactly why the issue Professor mentioned that the two lines not together. The policy by the government now, central government policy on metro, it now clearly says that before even considering for a metro in any city, the preparation of comprehensive master plan, comprehensive mobility plan for the city is a prerequisite. And therefore, the entire traffic scenario, which portion will be served by metro, which portion will be served by feeder system, and where parking will be there. All this has to be decided in one go. In Delhi, this has been done in piecemeal. We were not experienced enough. We never anticipated that airport line will come when we were constructing the phase one. So this is a learning, and rightly now the policy is that before you even think of a metro in a city, you have to prepare a comprehensive mobility plan.
We'll come to this part a little later. Before that, I want to ask you, as you both mentioned that even in tier 2 cities, metro projects can be are possible. But some experts would say that in these tier 2 cities, like for instance, Bihar government has approved projects in Gaya, Bhagalpur, Darbhanga, Muzaffarpur. So in these tier 2 cities, the average distance which people commute is between 3 to 5 kilometers. And if we have a metro system in place, will people really use that system? And in big cities like Delhi, Mumbai, people will come use metro because the distances are long. People will use metro here, and ridership will gradually increase. As Mangu Singh sir, you mentioned Delhi Metro initially struggled. The ridership was very low, but now we have over 70 lakh people. Daily passenger journeys are over 70 lakh. So, but do you feel that small cities will ever be able to get that kind of ridership where distances are so small, like average commute distance is just 3 to 5 kilometers?
I think it's a very valid point. When we are saying tier 2, we really don't mean cities with population of 4 lakhs and 5 lakhs. In India, tier 2 means still cities with population of 40 lakhs, 50 lakhs, and like that. So when we say tier 2 and tier 3, it really does not mean smaller cities, the cities you were naming just now. Now, we are not very sure what actually led to taking a decision to go for metro or go for a feasibility study. The policy and the guidelines for the ministry is very clear, actually. Before you decide to go for a metro, you have to do the comprehensive mobility plan I mentioned.
That they will.
There you have to do the alternative analysis, see what else is possible.
That's what they will get it done also.
And also the I think they have given the clear mandate that cities with population of 20 lakhs and above should start thinking of metro. This is there in their policy. And also they mentioned that the economic rate of return should be minimum 14%. So this will come out from the feasibility study which had been decided to be done.
So when I spoke to officials in Bihar government about this proposal, so Raghuram sir, they mentioned about that, how metro will result in further development. I mean, there is development in future, there will be demand, and because of metro also, there will be development in the cities. So what are your thoughts on this, sir? That cities planning development based on metro projects, is it a good idea?
Well, to some extent, yes, it's a good idea, but there has to be a starting point.
Okay.
Not that you start the metro in a jungle and then develop a city.
Okay.
There has to be a starting point, a minimum threshold has to be there.
Raghuram sir, what do you have
Yeah.
to say?
No, so I would believe, now, of course, when you talk about comprehensive mobility plan, of course, because you are looking into the future, up to a certain level, maybe a helicopter view can be determined, where the government says, okay, this is how future development is going to be. This is institutional area, commercial, residential, whatever. I think there is broad sense. I think a metro can be leveraged to ensure that development. I think a good example of it is actually Japan.
Okay.
See, Japan, if you go back more than 100 years, late 1800s, early 1900s, when railways came into Japan and they really penetrated fast, suburban railway systems and metro systems also started coming in. And one of the important things, they actually brought in private players. And what they did is they gave them land for development as well as the license to construct a metro or a suburban line. And that is how many of these companies have done well by, the land use with the transportation. So I do see this as an opportunity, though of course, if we go to too small a city, I mean, at some point we have to worry about, are we spreading our resources thin? Could the same money have been used better for a different opportunity? And is it purely a political game of, the leaders can say, look, I've got a metro, to some extent, that is an issue. But compared to the naysayers of the metro, I think many more cities need to come under the metro umbrella. I mean, definitely cities that are 2 million plus, maybe even 1 million plus, should start planning metros and leverage it for future development.
Okay. Then it's a capital intensive project. How should cities go about it? We have seen there is loan that government takes. But do you think that we can develop metro network on public-private partnership? And before Raghuram sir, I would like you to answer this question, and then maybe Mangu Singh sir, you can take this. Recently, we saw Hyderabad. In Hyderabad, the private concessionaire talked about that how the ridership has got affected. It's not still clear, but they were thinking about pulling out from there. And in past also, we've seen in private players are not very keen in Mumbai, in Delhi. So I want to know, how can we get public-private partnership? Is it really possible in metro projects, Raghuram sir?
Yeah. So PPPs I don't think at the construction stage, PPPs will work. See, typically you have a build, you have an operate, right? And in operate, of course, you can look at it as a front-end operation where you're dealing with the customer, the fare, various other services, and a back-end, the maintenance and, running of the trains and so on. Now, first of all, the build part, all the other metros, the private player has run into big trouble. Now, whether it is in Mumbai, the first line, and in fact, at that time, they thought they will do many more lines on PPP basis. Then finally, the government decided and pulled back. Delhi, the airport line, the Gurgaon line, and of course, now Hyderabad is the surviving, PPP, if you will. See, the build is a very tricky one. In fact, in Hyderabad, maybe thanks to L&T, somehow they navigated and got it going. But during the build phase, when we study the other metros, number of permissions, the lack of right information by city authorities. Like if you dig and you go by the maps that you get and you plan where a pillar should be, and then you start digging, you will find things are completely different from what the map is. Because, a lot of things have happened which have not been captured, given our city administrations, So every time they have to shift or they have to redesign. So these increase the time and the cost of construction.
Yeah.
And I think therefore, and then they get into a blame game because government authority cannot easily give in. So, you may have an arbitration, then you go to court, you go to level 1, level 2, I mean, you can look at the airport line. Till date, the matter has not been resolved. I mean, how many times it has gone to court back and forth. So I think build is not possible because it is too risky.
Okay.
But maybe when it comes to the operations phase, there would be potential to bring in private play with a more commercial incentive, with a good commercial responsiveness. I think there is opportunity to bring in private play.
Okay.
And they may do better than a government public sector doing that.
Mangu Singh sir, what do you have to say? Because Delhi Metro
Yeah,
did experiment with this idea that
I-
Raghuram sir is suggesting.
Yeah, I agree 100% with Professor. It's a international practice actually. The amount of fund required for the developing a metro system for a private player to put such huge fund is a big risky affairs. And therefore, internationally, this is the practice that the government funds the project. And then later on, the operator is allowed to run the system with some arrangement, either a token lease of the assets given to that party. So this is a very common system. But I have another point to add to this. I mean, that's also not very, very, very easy in our country because the risk of getting the revenue affected subsequently. So if you leave the entire risk of ridership with the private player, private operator, then it's a big risky proposition for him. In our country, raising the fare is a big issue. Even if it is permitted under your agreement, it will be very difficult to increase the fare because of the pressure from the government and like that. And also, since these contracts are long, 30 years or 40 years contract like that, you do not know how many establishment will change, how many political establishment will change during this period. And then the thinking of each one will be different. Similarly, any development work done parallel to the present line to which the operator is operating, anything done will affect his ridership. Suppose you construct a parallel elevated road, his ridership will be affected badly. So he can always make a claim. So unless we share the risk of the operator, I have a doubt in success to that simplistic thing. Yes, there can be some way of sharing the risk of revenue to him. Say, for example, if he is not allowed to increase the fare as provided in the contract, then government should compensate.
Okay.
Now, again, compensating by the government means what? The operator will come with the begging bowl, and he will not have that sort of freedom and flexibility to run the system. So there are problems. I have a feeling we have not yet matured enough. Our society, we are not matured enough to have PPP in the public service of this complex nature. Maybe true with the supply of electricity, you once agree with the terms, conditions, then they go. So in my opinion, yes, it's a good proposition, should be tried, but with caution.
Okay. And
so maybe I could, I think I completely agree that the way the fare. So in fact, build part, the risk should be with government, and they can use the traditional contract method to do it. Fare also should be with government. I think because let government decide whatever fare it wants, let it decide that women will travel free, let it decide people with challenges will travel free, whatever. Students may get a discount, government can do what it wishes. the bid to the private party should be independent of the fare. The bid is to operate what is the money they need from the government, plus maybe where the incentive can come in is in non-fare box revenues. You see, in non-fare box revenues, my sense is the private party can be a little more aggressive, a little more market conscious. You know, what kind, whether there should be food courts, bookshops, gift shops, whether we should build, in the area, near around the station, wherever the land is vested with them, and use it commercially. I think there can be certain definitions of non-fare box which the private party can exploit. And I think that model, my sense is, can work.
Okay. We spoke about this, in Telangana. So basically this free bus ride thing in Hyderabad, they mentioned that because of the free bus ride, the ridership of metro got affected. Though in Delhi, we don't know whether it really had any significant impact on metro ridership or not. But bus systems, do you feel that, instead of complementing each other, the bus and the metro network, in most cities, they've become competing transport systems. And we need to address this. Do you feel that?
Can
Raghuram?
I?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. No. See, there's no harm in competition.
Okay.
See, because ultimately, a better urban quality of life is having choice. I think the more choice you give the urban citizen, the better it is. Whether it is choice for living, choice for working, choice for commuting. So, while evacuation from a station is important, because a metro is like a high density backbone. So invariably you will have a first mile and a last mile. So to that extent, a cooperative scenario is necessary. The cooperative could be with the bus system, could be with intermediate passenger transport, could be with parking, or a combination of all of these. So I think that is important. But if there is a bus route in parallel, I personally think that's quite okay. And it is up to government policy. That is why I said the fare part. Now, whether they give free rides on the bus and it affects the metro, that's all up to the government.
Okay.
Overall, I mean, in terms of financial viability, you see, all this may not lead to, when you put numbers down, it may not make a metro financially viable from a financial rate of return. But to me, a metro is an economic good. It's an instrument of public policy in a city. It's an instrument of urban development. And therefore, I don't think we need to worry about matching revenue with cost as far as the public entity is concerned. If you're giving some part of it to a private entity, of course, they must get enough revenues to cover their costs and in fact some more. So, and today, I don't see, you see, the point is that the externalities, the positive externalities of a metro are so much that incomes coming to the city from other sources, in a sense, are generated because of the metro. So I would look at financial viability in that bigger frame of reference.
Okay. But do you think city authorities or the state governments are doing enough, cities which have got metro? Do you think they're putting in enough, they're doing planning, they're planning it properly so that they get a lot of revenue from, and basically they get non-fare box revenue?
Well, I think there is room for improvement. There is room for improvement in terms of attracting ridership, especially the first mile, last mile connectivity, the land use planning around the metro station. I mean, these are, and hopefully we are learning, and it will it will improve.
Mangu Singh,
That is my positive, optimistic stance.
I think as I mentioned earlier, the first point is at the inception stage itself, there has to be a comprehensive mobility plan for the city.
Yeah.
That actually decides the parameters, where and what will be there, how things should be developed. And then there should be a unified transport authority also.
Yeah, I was just coming.
As Professor rightly said that, yes, there can be a competition. But I believe that bus and metro, they have a different purpose. See, the bus stops every 200, 250 meters. Metro stops at 1.5 kilometers. So even if it is running parallel, buses will still serve their purpose for the intermediate stops and all that. But yes, to see that how the available resources in the city, total number of buses available, total metro network, how this is used in the best possible manner for the city. So there has to be one authority, some authority to decide that. That is lacking. Though the central government has mandated that all cities, they should have unified transport authority.
Yeah.
But in practice, nothing is actually happening on that front. If that is done, I have seen that working, this system working well in many other cities. Like I visited Madrid and I studied there. This type of a umbrella organization deciding a large number of operators. Even the metro is being operated by multiple operators. One line by one operator, another line by the other operator. So to integrate all of them, there has to be somebody to an umbrella organization to see that the things are done in best possible manner.
So what do you think? Both of you, okay. What do you think is the reason that we have not been able to get UMTA in place?
Yeah, there may be multiple reasons, and I can talk something about Delhi.
Yeah.
You see Delhi. Now today, I spent almost more than 25 years in Delhi Metro in Delhi, and more than 10 years as MD.
Yes,
but I'm still not clear in Delhi who decides about the transport, where a flyover should come, where a metro should come. All are acting independently. In fact, at one stage, informally, I offered that let DMRC be given this responsibility of deciding or actually studying and suggesting what should be done in the entire city. I offered that voluntarily, but somehow that is not being done. And the reason is obvious in Delhi, like many other things are not happening in Delhi because of multiplicity of the agencies and the lack of clarity in the jurisdiction. This is happening in the same way here also.
Raghuram sir, what do you think?
I think UMTA should happen, but the existing, whoever are the decision makers, I mean, whether it is the traffic police or whether it is the city administration or the metro administration, I think everybody has gotten into their space, and they don't. I guess they don't want to let go. So who is to really bell the cat is the question. So but definitely all cities need one entity that can look at all transport systems, all public transport systems, well, and private. In fact, when we say, you see, whoever does any thought in transport, like including metro or bus or intermediate, we are talking about passenger. The freight transport in an urban area is something that has very rarely gets attention for planning, parking. Yeah, I mean, but it is so important because the economy of a city depends on an ability to move goods around. But that's a completely different thing. I'm just highlighting that point to say that this comprehensive view of mobility in a city, we are far from, getting an integrated view. I mean,
That is true.
I just want to give one example, particularly again in Delhi,
Yes, sir.
the lack of such authority.
Hmm.
If you go to the, say, city of London or like that,
Hmm.
there in the city, any transport thing cannot happen unless mayor or the municipal corporation
Hmm.
agrees to that.
Mhm.
Now, see in Delhi, what railway is planning and railway is doing since last 20-25 years.
Hmm.
They have created a terminal at Anand Vihar. They are now creating a terminal at Bijwasan.
Yeah.
They cannot bring more trains to New Delhi or Delhi station. So what they are doing, they are terminating at the far end. But who have anybody objected to that? Is this really serving? If somebody is coming from Calcutta, his train terminating at Anand Vihar. If he has to come to Anand Vihar to say Janakpuri, how will he come? And this is actually city's problem. You are dumping so many people at the end of the city, and then they are traveling inside the city. So this is the problem of the city. So they have not, nobody has consulted them and nobody has objected because there is no opportunity to do that. And railway is doing in their wisdom what they feel is good, is best, because this is least bothering to them. They are not to bring all the trains to New Delhi.
Hmm.
And this is against the fundamental concept of the main line railway system.
Okay.
See, so lack of this overall umbrella things are making so many things.
Hmm.
The professor mentioned about the lack of integration with the railway.
Mhm.
On record, there are circular issued by railway
Mhm.
that if your metro line has to pass a railway line,
Hmm.
underground railway line, it
Mhm.
has to pass beyond the station premises. What does it mean? You cannot have a proper interchange. That means the station platform, normally mainline railway platform is about 700, 600 meter long.
Yeah.
So you have to cross beyond the platform edge. So how will you integrate? So there is lack of overall
Planning.
well planning.
So would you like to add, Gilla?
But definitely, I mean, to me, even New Delhi,
Yes, sir.
though the yellow line as well as the airport line. But if I were to from train switch to metro, I'd think twice.
Hmm.
Um, and that too depending on the platform and depending on the coach. Whereas you go to in Germany, for example, you take Frankfurt or you take Munich or the metros go under the platforms and there are multiple points in each platform where you can just go down and you're, connected to some metro or the other. And so, that's the kind of thinking we need. And there is no dearth of engineering capability today. The issue is the two systems or multiple entities getting together and thinking customer, thinking user, thinking citizen. How can I deliver more value to the citizen? And I think that's what is required, but how we are going to break the individuality of the organizations is a big issue. Yeah. But anyway, having said that, as a, I don't know, I hope we are assuming we are concluding.
Yes.
To me, metro again, especially today with climate impact, the rail on rail is amongst the least in friction. And so energy consumption, that is our per unit energy, the value you can get in terms of mobility is much higher. And that is one aspect. The other aspect is air friction. See, a road vehicle can only be a certain length. Maybe 50 people can go in a reasonable sized bus or 70 people, whatever. But in a metro, you can have more, you can have multiple coaches, and the air friction that you suffer is only for the first coach. After that, there is no air friction. So these two fundamental principles of the rail technology, I think, given that climate and energy and all these are important issues today, I think metro is a very good means of transport.
Yeah, I fully agree. Metro is the most efficient and sustainable way of transporting people. And that is exactly why Delhi Metro got the CDM certification for the first time anywhere in the world, and also got the carbon credit for this. Yeah, this we have demonstrated. Thank you.
Definitely. Thank you so much.